D-Lo 44. Here to drop another video. I want to say welcome back to my subscribers. Welcome back to repeat viewers. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome as well. I ask that if you're feeling the content, please like, share, and comment as well. I want to talk about the high praise that Anthony Joshua was getting for beating Sasha Pavetkin, the known drug cheat. You know, I look at it like this. When Wilder beat Luis Ortiz, the same people that are on here, on YouTube, want to give AJ all the credit in the world, and if they had it to give him, they'd give him a king's ransom for beating Sasha Pavetkin. Those same people were highly critical of Wilder after he beat Luis Ortiz. Said he was an old man, he was 100 years old, so forth and so on. Dillian White's one of those that are saying the same thing. He's a fighter, and he turned down an opportunity to fight Ortiz. Has no interest in fighting Ortiz whatsoever. But I'm not going to make this video about Luis Ortiz. I'm going to talk about the reaction to Joshua beating Pavetkin. Me, first and foremost, I give AJ credit for overcoming adversity in that fight. I'm looking at the fight from round one. Pavetkin was getting to him 1, 2, 3, and he was having his moments in every round, landing hard shots. AJ was doing what he was supposed to do as far as weathering that storm. He set up some shots. He saw an opening. He landed a great shot, and he got Sasha in trouble. And when he got him in trouble, he got him out of there. That said, if AJ was who you guys say he is, or who you act as if you think he is, or try to sell him to John Q. Public as being, he'd have never had trouble with Pavetkin whatsoever. Now, another thing, these same people that were highly critical of Wilder for having a bad moment in the 7th round in a fight with Luis Ortiz, a guy that everybody in the world who knew anything about boxing expected to give Wilder problems because of his superb boxing ability. Those people, once again, were the same people who, even when Wilder was trying to kind of act as if he didn't want to fight Ortiz because of the failed drug test with the high blood pressure or whatever it was that caused the fight to get canceled, and then Wilder went on to fought Stavern. Those same people that were crying, they want Ortiz to get his shot. Ortiz deserves a shot. Wilder's ducking Ortiz. Wilder ducking Ortiz. Well, when Wilder took the fight, knocked the man out, regardless of what happened in between round 1 and I think it was the 10th round when he finished, and maybe the 11th. Regardless of that shaky moment, in the 7th, you guys were acting as if Wilder was ducking this man because Ortiz popped dirty. So when Wilder came back, went back to him after he made short work of Romain Stavern, you guys were the ones clamoring about how old Ortiz was and how he wasn't in this and he wasn't that, and Wilder almost got knocked out when Wilder almost got dropped. Not knocked out. But aside from all that, you guys were the main ones that were highly critical of Deontay Wilder for even fighting Ortiz once he knocked him out. But prior to that, y'all wanted to act like he was ducking the man. So fast forward to last Saturday when it's AJ in against yet another almost 40-year-old man, he gets all the credit in the world. Just like when he fought 41-year-old Klitschko coming off of a loss to Tyson Fury in which he was utterly dominated, and the longest layoff of his career, which was almost 2 years, and had AJ in all kind of trouble, and AJ overcame it and knocked him out. Yes, he gets credit for overcoming the adversity, but there again, I asked the question, why was he in such trouble against a man who was 41 years old, coming off of a long layoff and a loss? My answer, he's not as good as you guys try to sell him to be. And it's that simple. AJ made Vlad look young again. And the crazy thing about it is, AJ has not looked good since he stepped in the ring with Vladimir Klitschko. He didn't look good in that fight. He overcame adversity in which he almost got stopped and won the fight via stoppage. And let's not act like he knocked Vlad out with some devastating punch. He landed a good uppercut that Vlad got up from. But when that fight ended, Vlad was on his feet. The ref waved the fight off. Now, do I think it was a bad stoppage? No. I think it was a fair stoppage, but my point is he didn't knock the man out in devastating fashion like these other guys that knocked Vlad out. And back to Povetkin. Povetkin was coming into this fight off of a KO of David Price, who has been knocked out by not less than 6 total guys. Price was knocked out 4 times prior to Povetkin, and he just got stopped again on the undercard of this fight, of the Joshua fight, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't watch it, but I know he got another stoppage, and I think he was on the undercard. He got another stoppage loss. So that's the kind of guy that Povetkin beat prior to getting this fight with AJ. But the thing about that is, he himself was hurt bad in that fight, was dropped and hurt bad by Price in the fight. So, to me, there's no surprise that Joshua stopped Povetkin. Price almost stopped Povetkin. I mean, so, for myself, coming into that fight, I picked AJ to knock out Povetkin. And I figured he probably had some rough moments in there with Povetkin. Not because Povetkin is such a dangerous fighter, but because AJ just really isn't that good. And I don't care how many titles he has. I don't care how long he has those titles. I'm always going to go back to, how did he come to possess those titles? He beat Charles Martin, who has proven not to be a very good heavyweight. He beat Vladimir Klitschko, who was coming off of a layoff and a loss, and 41 years old, and who went right back into retirement after that loss. And the thing is, Joshua was already a champion because he beat Charles Martin, and Vlad was coming back off of inactivity, basically off of retirement, and they got to fight for a vacant title. It's not very often that a current champion and for one sanctioning body gets to fight for another sanctioning body's vacant title. But somehow they finagled that to where that was the situation in the scenario. So AJ came to possess his second title. Another vacant title at that. So Fast forward, I'm not even going to talk about the Takam fight because it wasn't a title fight. I mean, he wasn't fighting for a title. His title was on the line. His 2 titles were on the line, but he didn't have a shot at winning another title. So we'll go ahead to this Joseph Parker fight where he has a shot to go and win yet another title. And he does so in a ho-hum fight. Seemed like he was very timid and very uninterested in mixing it up with Joseph Parker. And I'm not going to get into all the stuff about the ref. That's been talked about I don't know how many times. But aside from all that, he won the decision. He got the title. And since that point, Joseph Parker's been knocked out by Dillian White. Sorry, my mistake. Not knocked out. Dropped by Dillian White a couple times. And beat by Dillian White. Okay? Go back to Joseph Parker prior to fighting AJ. He fought Hughie Fury. And most people thought Hughie Fury won the fight. Even the fight in which Parker obtained the title, he got a decision over Andy Ruiz. A lot of people felt Andy Ruiz won the fight. So my assessment of Joseph Parker just not that good. I mean, and so with that, I just say you got a guy who has 3 major titles. And he goes to defend those 3 titles against a guy who fought for a world title 5 years ago and got dominated by Klitschko. But he had an opportunity to fight for Undisputed against the only other guy who has a major title. And he's the longest reigning current champion at heavyweight. But somehow you can't make that fight happen. So you go fight your mandatory, as he says, and he goes life and death with this guy for the first 3, maybe 4 rounds, and was constantly getting hit with hard shots, and eventually set him up with the right shot and got him out of there. Did his job, but there again, didn't look good in the process. So, maybe it's just me. And maybe it's just that, maybe I have my preference in what I like to see in a champion. Or what I like to see in a guy that people keep telling me is dominant. But what I see when I watch Anthony Joshua fight, and I've seen about a good 8, maybe 9 of his fights. But and most of them were, he looked very good against guys like Charles Martin, Dominic Brazil, Andy, what's his name? Eric Molina. But when he got to Vladimir Klitschko, Carlos Takam, Joseph Parker, and then Povetkin, he doesn't look so dominant anymore. And none of these guys at this particular time can be called world beaters. I mean, none of them. Even Vlad at his age. You know, Vlad coming off of that Tyson Fury loss left you wondering what he had left in the tank. And the thing about that, even prior to fighting Tyson Fury, Vlad had a fight with Brian Jennings that was very it left a lot to be desired. I mean, Brian Jennings, not really the biggest puncher. undersized against Vlad. I think if Bryant Jennings had more power, he probably would have gave Vlad fits. But the reality is, even without having the most power, Vlad had some tough moments in there with him. He couldn't do what he wanted to do with him. And it was a fight in which a lot of people probably figured halfway through the fight, Bryant Jennings would be out of there. And they went 12 rounds, and there were several close rounds in there. So that Bryant Jennings fight for me told me that Vladimir Klitschko was probably on the decline. Especially when I see Bryant Jennings in his very next fight get knocked out in like 6 rounds by Luis Ortiz. So I'm just looking at Anthony Joshua looks really good against the Dominic Breazils of the world, but not so good against the Joseph Parker, Vladimir Klitschko's of the world. And I know Klitschko and Parker are worlds apart themselves. I think even at this stage, Klitschko's a lot better fighter than Joseph Parker. But that said, Parker himself, with whatever he has, was not someone that Anthony Joshua could just go in there and dominate. So, hey, if Anthony Joshua is to be great, guys, let him grow to be great. But stop trying to sell him as this world beater because he has these trinkets. Because he's picked up these titles from 2 people, I'll say, that refused to fight Deontay Wilder. Being Charles Martin and the other being Joseph Parker. Vladimir Klitschko also said at one point when he had all the titles, other than the one Wilder has, that Wilder had to do more before he fights him. That Wilder needed to do more before they fight. So, in essence, all 3 of the guys that Anthony Joshua won titles off of, at one point or another, turned down Deontay Wilder as an opponent. They showed no interest in fighting. So, why is it that these same guys had no reservations about fighting Anthony Joshua? They didn't see him as much of a danger as they see Deontay Wilder. I don't care what you guys say about Wilder fighting middle school teachers, cab drivers, the principal, the local newspaper man, or whatever you guys want to call the guys that Wilder has fought. The reality is each and every last one of those opponents has something in common. They all got stopped. Stavern's the only one who, in the first match, actually made it to see the final bell. And even in that fight, Stavern got hurt badly about middleway through the fight. It just so happened that it was at the end of a round. The ref didn't even rule it a knockdown. But if you go back, anybody go back and look at that fight, Stavern pretty much like got up, slobbered out of the mouth. I mean, he got slobber knocked, so to speak. I mean, so regardless if you don't respect anything else Wilder does, the power is real. And these guys that have sparred with Wilder, both Klitschko's, AJ, Luis Ortiz, all are telling the same story, that Wilder's power is otherworldly. Hey, I know a one-trick pony is not that impressive in certain aspects of sports. You know, if you got a quarterback and all he does is throw the deep ball very well, but he's terrible on short passes, you know, that's going to hurt your team. If you got a receiver who's great on running a vertical route, but he's terrible at catching passes over the middle, then he's very limited. You guys want to say Wilder's a one-trick pony? If that is the case, I don't believe it is, based on what I've seen in the fights, because I'm not just looking at him knocking somebody out. I look at other things he does to set up the knockout, and I also look at other things he does to keep other guys from really landing the hardest shots on him as well. But if you guys really believe that, then I say, if that one trick is working and knocking everybody out, give me that one trick any day of the week, then everything that Anthony Joshua has in his bag. And I think Joshua's team feels the same way based on the way they move. They are very reluctant and very hesitant to put their cash cow in the ring with Deontay Wilder. And the only way they're willing to do it, if they get to keep all of the back end money and just give him a flat fee, and they're able to walk away with everything that the fight makes aside from what they pay him up front. So that alone tells me that they're looking at the risk associated with that fight as so great that they are the ones feeling like they need to be in a cash out type situation. They keep saying Wilder's trying to cash out, but when Wilder made an offer, he made an offer that said, I want the fight. Their offers say, I don't want this fight, but if you're willing to take this sucker offer, we'll take this fight. So please don't come to my channel talking about how Wilder is the one making it impossible to make this fight. I'm not going to sit here and try to act like some of these people and play both sides against the middle. I'm telling you, from my vantage point, the side that has wanted to make the fight all along is the side Deontay Wilder's on. The side that has done everything they can to not make the fight, but convince the public that they're interested in making the fight, is AJ's side. And when AJ's side wants to prove that to be false, then they'll make an offer that says this is the percentage split we're willing to start the negotiations at. Not this flat fee, that flat fee, or that flat fee. There has to be a percentage split of the back end money. The fight's big because of both guys' names. And I've said that several times. So when those guys are ready to make that fight, when those guys truly believe Anthony Joshua is as great as they keep trying to tell everyone he is, they'll make that fight. If they don't have the confidence in him that they try to act like they do, like Eddie Hearn saying, oh, somebody can lose, this guy won't lose. If he really felt that way, then they wouldn't feel like they got to get all the back end money to make this fight. All of that back end money they're trying to get, that's like an insurance policy. That's saying if this guy goes out and beats our guy so badly that we can no longer sell him as what we've sold him as in the past, so his value plummets, then we've cashed out. So we can be satisfied and secure in what we brought in on this one fight. You know, I'm one of those people who felt like even when Wilder was saying, give me whatever you feel like I'm worth in the first fight and you take that in the rematch should I win, I felt like even that was a bad move for Wilder had they even decided to take it. Just say they told Wilder, okay, we'll give you 20% in the first fight, and if you win, we'll give you 80%. We'll take the 20%. In my mind, the way I think is there's no guarantee that they take the second fight, especially for short money. They could just say, no, we don't want a rematch. You know, even if they put the rematch clause in there, they could say, well, we'll just give up the belt. or whatever. You know, whatever it is, because you can. The thing is, you can contractually obligate somebody to a rematch, but you can't force them to take that rematch. All you can do is take something from them for not taking a rematch. So you could put money in escrow, or if there's a title at stake, that title could be taken from them because they didn't take the rematch. But aside from that, you really can't make someone take a rematch. I mean, that Vlad and AJ had a rematch clause. That rematch never happened. Fury and Vlad had a rematch clause. That rematch never happened. You get where I'm going here? So that rematch clause is only as good as the guys actually wanting to come together again and make that fight happen. You know, even Triple G and Canelo were supposed to be rematching, and the fight was pretty much signed, and it got canned because of a drug test. So, I mean, my point in saying all that is Wilder needs to get what he has to get in the first fight. There's no guarantee in the second fight. Especially if he does to AJ what I think he's going to do to him. They may be very reluctant to make a second fight. I mean, you know, and that's the way I feel about it. Now, if I'm wrong and they make the fight and AJ goes out there and beats Wilder, I will gladly come on here and make a video, and I will be very boisterous about how wrong I was and how I undersold AJ and didn't appreciate, you know, what he was, and now I see that I was wrong. I'll gladly say that. I'm not going to be one of those guys that just poof, disappear in the middle of the night, shut the channel down because they made some bold prediction, and then all of a sudden when what they've been preaching and speaking for months and months and months didn't come to fruition, and they were made to look like a fool, they just shut the channel down and start a new channel. I mean, I'm not like that. I don't really care that much. And at the end of the day, if I'm saying something about a fighter, I'm basing it on things that I see. So if my eyes are lying to me, then it's just lying to me. But at the end of the day, I do not see this greatness that you guys keep trying to tell everyone else is there. AJ is a good fighter. He may be slightly better than he's better than good. He's not a great fighter. He's just a pretty good fighter. You know, and we don't know what these other guys are made of that he's fighting until they fight someone else. And the guys that he has beaten over the last 4 or 5 fights, one hasn't fought again, that's Vlad. Povetkin, prior to fighting AJ, was almost knocked out by Price. Takam has since been knocked out by Chisora. Parker got dropped several times by Dillian White and lost to Dillian White. And Charles Martin just got utterly dominated by Adam Kornacki. So those are the guys that AJ's been beating of late. I mean, so and I may have missed Brazil, who I've never been impressed with. I felt like Brazil lost to that guy Freddie. I think his name is Freddie Cassie or something like that. I thought Brazil lost to him, you know, about 3-4 years ago, and just got a gift decision because he was, you know, supposed to be, you know, up and coming heavyweight. But I thought he lost that fight. But anyway, you know, those are the guys that AJ's been beating since y'all have been trying to say he is so great. Once again, I'm not seeing that greatness. Greatness doesn't get in life or death fights with Sasha Povetkin or a 41-year-old former champion, faded former champion, coming off of almost a 2-year layoff and who was utterly dominated by Tyson Fury prior to taking that layoff, and prior to that, struggled with Brian Jennings. I don't think a great fighter gets dropped badly by Vladimir Klitschko under those circumstances. I don't think a great fighter gets himself into the kind of situation he was in with Povetkin in the early parts of that fight. And once again, I'll say I take my hat off to him for overcoming adversity and getting knockouts in both of those fights. But I'm not going to overlook the situation he found himself in during those fights. Yes, I know perseverance is a part of greatness. But I also know that when you are so great, you don't find yourself in certain types of adversity with certain other types of fighters who are not quite at the or anywhere near the level you're supposed to be at as far as what you're being sold as. But I've been on my soapbox long enough. I'm going to go ahead and close this one out. And I just want to say to Anthony Joshua's fans, if you guys truly believe Anthony Joshua is as great as you keep trying to tell everyone he is, the man would not be trying to cash out to fight Wilder. They wouldn't be talking about how Wilder is such a massive risk and they can make almost as much money fighting no-risk fights. And that was Eddie Hearn's term, no-risk fights. He didn't say low risk, he said no risk. If they had the confidence that they try to act like they have when it comes to fighting Wilder, then they wouldn't keep pricing themselves out of the fight by saying we got to get all the back end money to make the fight. If you got to get all the back end money to make the fight, you don't want the fight. And on that, I'm going to get out of here. Shout out to the LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Moving on.